Hello my friends, Mystic here, coming at you with another video. Today we are finally showing off the Infinite Shot Lich build guide. I've had a lot of requests for this build guide. I've had a lot of people come into stream talking about how cool the build is and they wanted to see how it works, so we finally want to show it off today. I'm confident in it. It is about as good as it could get. It does all of the content you could want it to do in in-game T4 bossing, mapping, whatever it is, this can do it. I do want to give a shout out to F's with Farham. You should go check him out. He does great content on YouTube as well as his streaming. He was the brainchild for this. This is where I initially saw the build guide, and I've kind of just altered it to my own liking and how my own play style works. But shout out to F's with Farham. Go check him out. So what we'll do first is we'll kind of go through my character stats. Now, there's nothing really too crazy going on in here. Nothing I really need to point out. But if you need to see something specific, just stop the video, and that way you can see exactly what it is that you need to see. And now we'll get into the gear. So one of the biggest pieces of this is the Last Lament Desolate crossbow. There are two things that I really want to point out. One of them we kind of have to dive into a good amount. The first being the skill that it grants, which is Composed Requiem. This is our big damage dealer. This is what takes out the T4 bosses really, really fast. You don't need this in mapping or anything like that. This is basically just a bossing component. But anytime you're going to run into a boss, you want to shock them and then use Composed Requiem. You're going to do massive amounts of damage. The other aspect of this that I want to get into is the sacrificing 300 life to not consume the last bolt when firing. This is what allows us to continuously shoot. Because we are a Lich build, if we have shield, we do not lose life. So we do not have to reload. You will continuously sit here and fire because we don't have to worry about that last shot. A couple of things I want to go into here. Number one, if you run out of shield, you have to either one, replenish your shield, or two, fall back until it can continue to recharge. The only ways to get around this are to use like an Olros flask and a different skill, and that's what F's with Farham does. His build is a little bit different in that he uses that flask and that recharges his energy shield. For me, I don't like the play style of it, so I changed it. If I run out of shield, I basically have to back off until my shield starts to recharge. The other aspect of it is that if you are below 300 life, we cannot use this ability because it does take 300 life. So you have to be above 300 life in order for this to work. So the other way that we get around that is using a helmet. I always have this in my inventory. If I go below 300 life, I can throw this on because of Eldritch's battery, and then I can heal, put my helmet back on, and then essentially my energy shield starts recharging almost immediately because of my sacramental robe. That keeps us above 300 life. It also helps us with the, if we lose our energy shield and we go low on life, how we can take care of that. It's up to you, really. You can run the Olros flask with a skill. I'll show it to you in the skill tree, or you can run it the way that I'm running it. Whichever way you want to go, I mean, you're going to be just fine. Next up is the deepest tower. So what we are also doing is we are hitting really, really, really close, right? We want to do as much damage as we can, super, super close. And the deepest tower gives us that boost because enemies in our presence count as low on life, and I'll show you in the skill tree where we're taking advantage of that. Now, when it comes to the gear outside of these two here, as well as the Whisper of the Brotherhood Sapphire Ring and the Death Articulated Ornate Gloves, it's a juggling act to get your attributes up so we can run everything, and then as well as spreading out your resistances. This is where the juggling act will really start to come into play. We need spirit, we need lightning resistance, we need attributes, right? So you're really going to have to find pieces of gear that will add those things here and there. You will also have to play with your runes to make sure that you're meeting all of these resistances to max them out. It really is a juggling act. What I'm showing you here is kind of just how I made it work, but I'm running a Jade Amulet. Again, we're getting our spirit here. We're also getting all attributes as well as resistances and an extra 14 to dexterity. The other thing is we want to allocate finality, because finality is 120% increased damage with hits against enemies that are low on life. Again, we're going to show that in the skill tree and why this is so massive. For my robe, I'm running a sacramental robe. I run this because I like the faster energy shield recharge. Because if we lose it, we want to make sure that it comes up fast enough that we don't die. Again, if you run out of energy shield and you're shooting, you're gonna lose life, and you got to be above 300. So you want that energy shield to come up as fast as possible. So this is a really great one to do that. But we are getting tons and tons and tons of energy shield here. It's our main defense. We're not running a bunch of other skills that give us a defense. So our energy shield is going to be our main defense. So we want to increase that. Again, we're getting skills with intelligence and fire resistance. I'm running a breach ring here. Again, adding physical and lightning damage, a ton of it, more intelligence, more resistances. Where this comes into play, the Whisper of the Brotherhood ring plays with the Last Lament Desolate crossbow, right? All of our cold damage is being converted to lightning damage. And why that matters is because the crossbow, the Composed Requiem, is actually a cold skill. We want to convert that to lightning because we are doing a ton of lightning damage with Galvanic, right? So we want everything to convert over to lightning. The ring allows us to do that. Now, the Death Articulated Ornate Gauntlets gives us 5 rage per second, and we do not lose rage. So these, again, are important, so that way our rage always stays up. We're not losing it. We're getting a little bit of chaos resistance. We're getting some attack speed. You know, really what you want to look for here is attack speed. The faster this build attacks, the better it is. Next, we're running up on our belt here. So again, a ton of resistances. That's going to be your primary point here. Get resistances in these. Get as many charm slots as you can. That way you can run, for myself, I'm running where I can't be frozen, I can't be stunned, and I also run this with the Rite of Passage Golden Charm. I find it does a ton of extra damage because Spirit of the Stag gives us an extra lightning damage boost. These are quite expensive. You don't have to run this. This is just how I run it, and it's great. It feels awesome when it comes on. You move so much faster. You do so much more damage. It's great. Getting into our boots, again, more resistances, energy shield, intelligence. That's what we're looking for, right? We want as many skill points. We want as much energy shield. We want resistances. That's what we want to do. Then that pretty much takes care of the gear. Again, it's a very complicated process. Because of us running 4 unique items, it really limits us on where we can spread out our skill points as well as our resistances. So you really have to play with it. Just because of what I'm running here doesn't mean that's what you have to run. You can run it any way that you would like. You got to make sure that you balance all of those things out. Now, this build, you can get this build up and going. You know, probably I had it running in the early 80s, I think actually mid 80s, for just about 70, 80 divine. I don't know what it's going to cost now. The build as it stands is quite expensive, but you know, you can work your way up to this. At that point, at the mid 80s or so, you're going to be running in-game content and be able to eventually work your way up to this. But you'll get it there eventually. As we get into the skills, if you look at Composed Requiem, as I said before, this is our main damage dealer. This is the boss killer. This is the boss deleter, right? When you get in, you're going to shock with Galvanic. You're going to hit them with Requiem. The only concern you have to have with Requiem is if you take a hit from the enemy, you lose Requiem. So you need to make sure when you are firing it off, you do not get hit or you will lose it, and you will have to wait about 20-ish seconds or so. It takes a little while to recharge. So don't get hit. Make sure when you pop it off, you're good to go, and you can just sit in there and take them out. But on Requiem, we're running Execute, Close Combat, Elemental Focus, and Lightning Penetration. As we scroll down, Shock Burst, Ripwire, and Stormcaller Arrow I really don't feel are necessary in this build. You could keep Shock Burst on if you're having a problem with a rare in a map, especially early on in the build. If you're hitting the enemies, but you're not really taking them out, the stronger ones, the weaker mobs, you'll take out just fine. But on some of the rares, you might struggle a little bit. You can keep Shock Burst. You'll shock them with Galvanic, hit them with Shock Burst. It takes them out a little bit quicker. If you want to run Shock Burst, you can run it with Lightning Infusion, Nimble Reload, Concentrated Effect, Deliberation, and Lightning Mastery. Again, you don't necessarily need to run this, but if you feel like you're struggling a little bit with rares and maps, this can help you take them down a little bit quicker. Then we have Berserk with Precision, Ripwire Ballista, again, is not really necessary. You could throw it down. It gives you a little bit of a boost, but again, not necessary at all. If you do want to run it, Ancestral Urgency, Persistence, Lockdown, Ironwood, and Greatwood. Our Galvanic Shards is our main clear. This is what we're going to run through maps with. This is what deletes everything in the maps. It's what deletes rares. You can really just run around, shoot this continuously, and you don't have to worry about anything else. With Galvanic, we're running Fork, Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, Mobility, and Acceleration. Stormcaller Arrow is again not necessary at all. I wouldn't even really worry about running this. The reason I say that is because we are going to shock with Galvanic. Stormcaller Arrow isn't necessarily needed to start the shock. Otherwise, you'd have to switch from Stormcaller Arrow over to your crossbow and then Requiem. For me, it feels clunky. It feels a little bit slow, so I don't even worry about it. I shoot everything with Galvanic, even the T4 bosses. I will shock with Galvanic, switch to Requiem, and it takes them out. If you do want to run Stormcaller Arrow, basically the process is you shoot them with the Stormcaller Arrow. Once they are shocked, you switch to your crossbow and you switch to Requiem, and it's kind of the same process, right? You let go of Requiem. But with Stormcaller Arrow, if you do want to run it, Conduction, Lasting Shock, Strip Away, Lightning Exposure, and Overcharge. Next, we're running Voltaic Mark with Reach and Magnified Effect. Now, what you also want to do when you get in and you're facing either a tough enemy, maybe a rare that's giving you a little bit of a problem, or especially when you go in and hit T4 bosses, you want to cast Voltaic Mark on them before shooting them with Galvanic or your Stormcaller Arrow. This will just basically shock them, and it'll raise the damage that you're going to do with your Composed Requiem. Then we're running Blasphemy with Conductivity. You want to run the highest conductivity you can in here, and then Ritualistic Curse. Basically, this just automatically casts conductivity on everything around us. As you're running around, it automatically casts it. You don't have to worry about it. It's already on the enemy. Then we're running Herald of Thunder with Long Shot, Maim, and Innervate. And that's basically all of the skills that we're going to go through. One of the things I do want to show you is you do want your damage, or I'm sorry, not your damage. You want your accuracy to be as high as possible at 2 and 5 meters. The reason for this, we are so close to enemies. That's what basically gives us a big damage boost because of our Spirit Bone Crown. You want to have the highest accuracy. If you are next to the enemy and you are missing, it is bad. So at 2 and 5, I like it to be at 100%. I wouldn't go any lower than 100% at 2 meters. I wouldn't go any lower than maybe 95 at 5 meters. You don't want to miss at close range, especially because we can take a lot of damage really close. So we want to make sure if we're hitting 100% and really, really hard. That's one of the main things I wanted to point out here is you want your accuracy to be at 100% at 2 and 5, or as close as you can at 5, but at 2 meters, absolutely has to be at 100%. All right, so now diving into the passive skills. So we are a Lich, so I'll go down into the ascendancy points here. So we do come down. We do want to put our best jewel here. We're going for attack speed, attack damage, damage with crossbows, attack speed with crossbows, movement speed, lightning damages, herald damages. We want to be going for those things inside of our jewels, and that goes across all of them. We're running a ton of jewels in this. There are a couple of unique ones that I'll point out as we go that you have to have in the build for it to work right. But you want to put your best jewel in here because it's doubled. We are coming down here to get our Unholy Might, gives us some chaos damage. I do want to point out we're getting Energy Shield here as well. Again, Energy Shield is our primary defense. You don't want to lose it, otherwise we're losing life. We can't function the build if we don't have life. We will die. So as much Energy Shield as we can get. Then we're coming down to Soulless Form and Eternal Life, which this is where the build hinges. If you have Energy Shield, you can't lose life, right? This is where it's all at. We need to have this in order for the build to function. As we come out, you really just want to follow the same path that I am. You'll want to go into strength and dexterity and intelligence where you need it in order for the build to essentially work. If you're having problems with survivability, you can come up here and grab some more energy shield. I don't need it. I do enough damage that I'm not worried about dying necessarily so often, so I don't feel the need for it. But if you're struggling early, feel free to go into that. We are grabbing some more energy shield down here. And again, dexterity and strength wherever you need it, and then more damages as we're coming through. The first unique jewel I want to show is the Megalomaniac. We want to be looking for Wildstorm. It gives us increased lightning damage. You know, any other extra lightning damage, the better. More strength, dexterity. The next unique jewel is the Heroic Tragedy Timeless Jewel. We want a Varana so we can get the Black Scythe training. This gives us increased energy per strength. That's why you see me allocating a ton of strength throughout my skill tree. This is going to give us a ton of energy shield, help us stay alive. Excuse me. As we come down, we're grabbing our Herald skills. Again, faster clear speed, great, feels awesome. More damages, more movement speed, more elemental damages, more strength. Again, our jewels are essentially the same. Movement speed, attack speed, accuracy, damage, lightning damage, herald damage. That's basically what we're looking for. That's in all of the jewels. I did come up here because we're not running a lot of crit chance on this build. I wanted a 30% chance for our lightning damage to be lucky. This just helps us do more damage, be lucky, clear speed, right? Coming down here, just grabbing some damage with crossbows. You will have to come down into here, especially early on if you're really having problems allocating your skill points, because this is going to give us all attributes, right? And it's really going to help us make the build work. Again, coming around, strength, jewels, still the same. And we're grabbing rage, right? The more rage, the more damage, the better it feels. We do need these. As we come up, more strength, dexterity, jewel's going to be the same. We are getting movement speeds and attack speeds over here. And this is where we really see with the deepest tower where it pays off. We are hitting massive amounts of damage against enemies that are low on life. This is why it is critical. It is critical that what I said earlier about your hit chance being 100%, because we have to be close and we're going to be taking damage. You have to be really, really high on your accuracy because we are so close and we're getting all of that damage by being close. You want to have high accuracy. You don't want to be missing when you're close. And then we're coming down over here again just to get more damage with our two-handed weapons, more accuracy, some dexterity points, and that's basically it. You know, that's how it looks. That's how the build functions. That's what it looks like. Again, this is a little bit different than F with Farhams, but this is just how I found it to be, and I liked it. So what I'm going to show you right now is I'm going to run you through a map, and then I'll take you to a T4 boss, so that way we can see exactly what it looks like. So let's go ahead and get into it. So here we go. We're going to go into our map now. And like I said, there's really not much to this. All you're going to do is run around and hold Galvanic down, and you are just going to delete everything. As you get closer to things, you're going to do a ton more damage. But this is basically all you do. You don't have to worry about Requiem. You don't have to worry about reloading. You don't have to worry about, you know, slowing down or anything else. You just run and gun. It feels so great. And with the Stag Charm, you move faster, you hit harder. It just, all around, it's just a great build. It's really fun to play. And you can see, I mean, we're just ripping through this map real quick. Now, this isn't a very difficult map or anything like that, but I run this on rarity maps with oh, what are those? Distill, you know, I distill them, and it does the same exact thing. There's really no difference. Let's come down here and take these guys out. And you can see, like, we don't have to really worry about taking any kind of damages or anything. If we do take any kind of damage, our energy shield starts up so fast it just kicks right back in. And there it is, right? So it's ultra fast. It clears out everything. It's just a ton of fun. Now, as we come into our boss fight, the one thing I will mention to you is you do want to allow your Composed Requiem to charge really before you go in and do anything. Because this is our main damage dealer, if you don't have this up, it can make boss fights a little bit longer as you have to wait for this to build up. For the most part, this isn't a problem with most of the bosses, as they have long intros, so it'll typically charge in time. But for specific ones like this, where you could just rush in and attack them, don't do it. Let it charge, and then I'll show you here what it does. Again, we want to make sure that we cast our Voltaic Mark to shock, and then we can compose Requiem, and it just absolutely deletes. And so it's going to be the same thing here, right? Just wait for him to do his thing. We're going to hit him with Voltaic Mark, shock him, hit him with Compose Requiem, and he'll be gone. Unless he hits me like that. Again, do not take damage while Compose Requiem is up. If you do, you lose it. You'll have to wait for it to recharge. But that's it. That is essentially the build. That's T4 right there. Absolutely melted. That's a 15 Waystone map. You absolutely shred. I hope you guys enjoyed the build guide. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, go check out F's with Farham. He was the brainchild where I got this from. You really need to go check him out. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.